Gopher Adventure, back with you again. I promised I'd do a What's in My Pack episode for solo trips. And so this is a solo setup. Now, you can see my pack is here, it's full. Couple of things I want to talk about right away that aren't here. Number one, canoe, not here. Paddle, not here. PFD, a life jacket. It's a good idea, especially when you're solo, to pack a ditch kit. That's what people refer to them as, in your life jacket. A ditch kit is a little waterproof bag, generally speaking, that you would put in a pocket of your PFD. You could decide how big you want yours to be, okay? Mine's pretty simple. It's got an emergency blanket, some matches to start a fire, and I usually have a knife in my ditch kit along with a set of pliers for fishing, but those could come in handy. So a ditch kit is an absolute essential, especially when you're solo. What you do see here is a portage yoke. Solo canoes generally need a yoke in order to portage them. Okay, this is a standard system that you'll see, okay? Now, with those things out of the way, you can see my pack is sitting right here. Generally speaking, I do not attach more than one water bottle to the outside of my pack. They get cumbersome and in the way when you're loading your pack into the canoe and out and in and out at portages and stuff. What I will generally do is have one of them inside of the pack. Map case. Always a good idea to have a map case, not a requirement, but I like to have one with at all times because I also keep some other essentials in here, which I'm going to talk about now. My map case has some clips so that you can clip it to the thwart bars of your canoe. Now, obviously you've got your maps in here, okay? I've got maps in mine. This one is not waterproof, so if this one takes a dip in some water, things are going to be wet. Essentials to have in your map case, okay? Well, I shouldn't call them essentials. Most people will tell you that a compass is essential, okay? I keep a compass in my map case. I think I've used it 2 or 3 times in all the tripping I've ever done, okay? But it's light, it's there when you need it. It doesn't hurt to have it along, okay? Most of the navigation you can do in the woods and in the boundary waters, you've got a lot of landmarks that you can use to help you. Pen, this is like a fine tip Sharpie, fine point Sharpie for marking on your maps when you see something that you want to mark, okay? Generally, I usually keep a Life Straw emergency water filter in my map case, okay? So that's in there too. Simple, that's all that's in that one. Let's get into the pack, okay? First of all, I want to show you this. It might be hard to see. I've got something strapped to the side here. This is a saw, okay? Collapsible saw. Sometimes I don't even bring a saw. Okay, the last solo trip I did, I didn't even bring a saw or a hatchet, okay? I don't remember the last time I brought a hatchet on a trip. Saw is plenty good, okay? For what I do, it's plenty good. Some of you, everybody's trip is different. Some people like to bring a hatchet and stuff like that. I would rather not have a hatchet along, especially when I'm solo. There's just too much risk of having an accident. Saw, on the other hand, is generally safe. You can saw off anything you need for firewood. You know, wrist size and smaller does not need to be split. So I have no need for a hatchet. So there's the saw. I like to keep it on the outside of the pack. That way if you run into some down trees on a portage or something, you can take care of them and get them out of the way without having to open your pack up. Now, you'll notice as I'm opening my pack that it's got this nice drawstring top, and then once you get into the pack, you'll see I've got a liner in here. Okay, this is just like a big industrial garbage bag. In the very top of my pack, the first thing you'll see is my rain gear. Okay, I always have that not in a stuff sack or anything, sitting on the top. Sometimes I'll even have it on the outside of this stuff, right underneath the flap, so that if a storm pops up, I can get to it real quick. And I got my rain gear, okay? There are some luxury items in here that I don't bring on all trips. There's going to be a lot of variants that you see here. This is just kind of a cookie cutter example of what comes in a solo pack, but the essentials are going to be in here. But there are some items I bring that are luxuries, and a couple of them are in here, and some other luxury items are not in here that I do sometimes bring. And maybe I'll talk about those another time. But I do want to talk about, before I get into this pack, another thing that is always in my pocket, 90% of my trips, a bug net, a head net, okay? Some people think, oh, that's silly, you look ridiculous wearing one of those. I don't care. These work, okay? These work. And when you need them, if you have to dig for them, it's usually too late and you're already being harassed by bugs. These are great for flies and mosquitoes. You know, if you're tripping in June, July, even into August, the flies can be pretty bad up in the boundary waters, but these will save your sanity, okay? I always have one with me. I even have it with me if I'm tripping in September, because you just never know. Mosquitoes can still be bad then, and the bug net can be your savior. One more item I always have in my pockets on my person is bungee dealy bobs. Okay, these are little fastening devices. Many of you are probably familiar with these. They're great for fastening things to your canoe, to your pack. These are Canoe Country Savers. Okay, they sell them at most of the outfitters up there in the Ely and Grand Marais area, okay? I always have some of those in my pockets. And then I also generally, I don't have it on me right now, but usually I have a Leatherman, some type of Leatherman multi-tool on my person as well, okay? So, into the pack. It's gonna be weird seeing the first thing that comes out, but this is a solar panel. Of course, I make a lot of videos and stuff, so I've got some devices that need charging. If the forecast is calling for a beautiful sunny week, sometimes I'll bring this guy. Now this isn't as full as it would normally be, but this is an Ursack. Okay, you can see it right there. Nice reflective tag on it, so when you're looking for it in the dark with your flashlight, you've got it right there. Okay, it's easy to spot. Now this is what I usually bring food in on a solo trip, and this is new to me. I got this last year. Okay, the Ursack is a bear-proof container. I believe it's made out of some Kevlar and stuff like that, but it's a bag, essentially, that your food goes in. I'm not gonna get into this other than to show you that inside of there, I've got one of these OpSacks, which is like an industrial Ziploc bag meant to seal in odors and stuff like that, okay? I can get food for a week in here, 6-7 days solo. Then when it's time to go to bed at night, you can go hang this on a tree branch, and there's a cool little tying system for making sure that nothing's ever gonna drag your food away. Your knot will not come undone, and unless that tree branch breaks, your food bag is gonna stay where it is, okay? That's the Ursack. In here, normally these would be split into 2 bags, but what I've got is my plate, my mug, my bowl for mealtime, okay? There's some camera stuff in here. I've got my camera stuff in here. I've got my weather radio in here. And then I've also got a GPS, just in case, and my spot device, which I bring on solo trips. Well, I bring it on almost every trip now. If you're paying for the subscription service, you might as well use it. This is an emergency beacon med kit, straightforward. Camp shoes. I'm usually wearing hiking boots and I'm usually wet footing. So when I get to camp, I take my wet socks and my wet boots off and I dive into these Crocs and usually put some dry socks on too. I was never a fan of Crocs. I thought they were silly and goofy and whatnot, and a kid's thing. But I tell you, there's nothing better for camp shoes. 1, they float. 2, they're comfy. 3, they're super light. And so they're a little bulky in your pack, but they're so light that it's worth having them. I love having these things for camp shoes. I look a little silly clomping around, but whatever. This is a rope bag, okay? I like to have a bunch of rope with me. There's a bunch of rope in that bag. This is my clothes bag, okay? A lot of times all I'll bring for extra clothes for a week in the woods, you get pretty stinky, but all I'll bring is maybe 2 extra pairs of socks, some long johns for if it gets cold, hat, gloves, or mittens, depending on what the forecast looks like, and maybe an extra wool long sleeve shirt, and maybe one more other shirt, just in case. Usually some type of dry fit or synthetic material or wool. I'm a huge fan of wool. Keeps you warm even when it's wet. Okay, here. This is fire starting stuff, matches, lighters, headlamps, some other little camp essentials that it's nice to keep in one place. Another luxury item coming out here is a chair, okay? Little pop-up chair. Sometimes I bring it, sometimes I don't. Cook kit, okay? This is big for solo, okay? Sometimes I have another cook kit that I bring that's a lot smaller, a little aluminum backpacker set. But if the forecast is good, I will bring this pot because I can throw it over the fire. I don't care if this thing gets charred up. This is a little aluminum. If I don't want to bring a fuel canister and stuff, then I will also bring this. This is a twig stove. Okay, it all collapses down into here, and I can cook everything I need sitting on top of this twig stove. If I don't want to do this, I'll bring a different pot set or this pot set, and I'll bring my a fuel canister and my gas stove. It's completely a preferential thing. This is completely up to you how you do these things. How you do your cook kit is up to you, but I usually have mine in a little mesh bag, okay? Next up, got a little bit of soot on my hands. Sleeping bag, okay? This one packs down nice and light. This is just a 30-degree bag. Gets the job done. That one happens to be down, so it's nice and light. Tent. Okay, this one's a little 2-person Big Agnes tent. This one's light too. This one's like 2 pounds. Okay, so that helps keep my pack nice and light. Water filter. Okay, I usually have a water filter and have it drain right into one of these Nalgene bottles. Okay, so the water filter is a big deal. In addition to the water filter, some people call it an optional item. I no longer call it optional because I got poured on last fall and I didn't have my tarp. This is a CCS, Cook Custom Sewing, 10 by 14 foot tarp. This one's rigged up so that it's got a ridgeline system so you can go between 2 trees and have this tarp up in a matter of 5 minutes, okay? And camp pillow, can't go without that. Sleeping pad, can't go without that. So, all the items are here, dumped out before you, and the pack is empty, okay? Now, everybody has a different preference when it comes to these things. What you have in your food pack is going to be completely up to you, okay? What you bring for a sleep system is completely up to you. What you bring for your kitchen is completely up to you. Over time, you'll develop a system, okay? This is just kind of a guideline for people who might be just curious, okay, as to what you might need. Now, I have always been a tent person, always been, but I'm getting older. And the last couple trips I've been on, I have been uncomfortable, okay? I haven't slept the greatest, and so this year I might try hammocking. If you're into hammocking, guess what? This doesn't have to come along, and a sleeping pad doesn't have to come along, and you've cut some gear from your pack, and you've got room for a hammock and maybe a couple of other luxury items, okay? These are some of the general items that you're gonna need in your pack, okay? I've gone on trips where I've had a lot more than this, okay? I didn't even talk about fishing stuff here. Usually I have a small tackle box that's this big because I like to fish. I'll have a couple fishing rods that are lashed into my canoe, and the only thing I carry other than the canoe and the pack on the portages is a bait bucket. I like to single portage. If you're not into that, you can really reduce the size and the weight of one of your packs. You could use this type of pack. This is a Granite Gear Quetico pack. You could do this pack with not quite as full, like 3/4 full. And you could have a separate, smaller day pack. You could get a general idea here. I know it's all kind of messy and schlopped about now of what goes where, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pack it all back in the pack and show you how easy it can be to have everything contained and pick up your pack and go when you're at a portage. All right, so here she is, all packed up. Now when I'm pulling it out of the boat, I can do it like that with those handles, but when it's time to put it on, we're ready to go. Oops. Bumping walls. Got sternum straps on this one. Got my pack. Ready to throw the boat on my shoulders if I need to and head down the portage trail. Simple as that. Solo canoe tripping. It's a great way to experience the wilderness. Have some fun out there. Test your limits.